What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is the 5th part of a story where Issei was the reincarnation of the Kaiju Destoroyah. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations. Now, let's get into part 5. Third person POV. The time has come. Everything that I have done, all the pain and suffering I had to endure leads to this very moment. This is the moment that I have been waiting for. Eons have passed, and I have collected everything that I needed. It's time to show everyone the truth, the real one. This disgusting omniverse won't know what hit it. Everyone will know what true suffering is, and it's all your fault. 0. Issei was seen in his room laying on his bed with his hands behind his head and staring deeply at the ceiling as he was in deep thought. Everything was coming together exactly how he has planned, only a matter of time before he unveils the biggest event the universe has ever seen since it was created by his quote-unquote brother. Even thinking of that bastard makes the brown-haired boy wanna puke his guts up. He'll know it won't be just him that shall pay. The entire fucking omniverse shall pay. Every single living being that exists within it shall know the true meaning of suffering. Issei heard a knock on the door. Mickey. Issei. Kaneko is here to see you. Issei. Send her in. Issei silently growled to himself. He was really getting tired of that woman. He swears that the 0 must be influencing her to meddle in his plan or something, cause whenever he is trying to test out his new abilities, she always shows up at the stupidest of times and ruins it. He'll have to get rid of her. Maybe he should do it right now. No, he can't do it yet. He wasn't afraid of the outcome like what were some pathetic humans gonna do to him. He was the primordial darkness that shall devour the omniverse. However, Issei has a better plan for her. One that he will definitely find hilarious. His bedroom door opened to reveal Kaneko. Looks like it was time to do some acting once again. And so with that, Issei sat up in his bed and gave Kaneko a smile, showing that he was happy to see her again. Issei. Hey, Kaneko. Kaneko, hey Issei. Issei. What brings you here? Kaneko. I came to check on you. Issei couldn't help but chuckle. Issei. Oh, that's nice of you to do so. Issei gave a mental look of disgust and annoyance. He wanted to puke from saying that. Issei. So you wanna hang out for the day? Kaneko smiled at Issei. Kaneko. I would like that. Issei got up from his bed and walked up to her. Issei. Well, shall we get going? Kaneko nodded her head. Kaneko. Yeah, let's go. Issei smiled as both he and Kaneko made their way out of the boys' bedroom and downstairs where Issei's mother was in the kitchen. She saw the two and smiled at how cute they looked. She was happy that her son found someone as adorable as Kaneko. Her little boy was growing up so fast. He has changed so much since the last time she saw him. He went from a perverted teenager boy who drooled at the sight of a woman's breast to a mature and handsome young man. Although she wasn't sure about his personality shift, he seems more cold and distant to others and sometimes acts more aggressive. But that is only at certain moments, though it is noticeable. But she won't ask her son about it because it was his life and she doesn't need to get involved. Small time skip brought to you by the author slamming his head on a wall as his friend tries to stop him. Currently, both Issei and Kaneko were walking around the streets of Kuo while holding each other's hands. On the outside, Issei was smiling as he was enjoying his time with a white-haired girl. But on the inside, however, was a completely different story. In fact, he despising every single moment of it because why the hell would he, the primordial darkness, want to suffer through the same thing that a certain bastard did to him? Every single part of his being was telling him to kill Kaneko right here and now, end this whole fake relationship thing, and call it a day. However, there are two problems with that. The first is that he wants the other supernatural to see this event, and also, the author doesn't want this story to be short. Like at this point the word count should be around maybe 600 to 800 if he was lucky enough, but knowing the author that won't be the case. Some of the people that were on the street saw them and smiled as they think they are a cute couple, which made Issei more annoyed that he wants to get rid of the Nico right here and now but can't just yet. Issei. Disgusting. Issei and Kaneko continued to walk down the street of Kuo. While they were, Issei noticed that there was something very strange about Kaneko now. It was with the way she was walking. He couldn't put his primordial claw on it, but it was almost like she was walking slower, and anytime the wind picks up she makes sure her skirt doesn't get lifted by it a lot quicker than any other girl. Not that Issei cares, but he just finds it very strange. He has never understood mortals, and that was saying something since he has had numerous lives being stuck in their disgusting, weak, and pitiful meat suits they call bodies. He's lived as so many things that he has lost track. Issei can recall a few humans or any mortal beings that he had lived as. Humans. Elves. Fairies. Dwarfs. Goblins. Orcs. Male. Female. Baby. You name it, he has lived as it and he hated every single moment of it all. But it will all be worth it in the end, because each life is a part of his plan. Hineko looked up at Issei. Hineko, hey Issei. Let's go get something to eat. Issei. Sure, but can I ask you something? Hineko raised an eyebrow as she and Issei continued walking. She wondered what he wanted to ask her. Hineko. What is it? Issei stared Hineko in the eyes. Issei. Why are you walking so weirdly? You're moving slower, and also anytime the wind picks up, you act like it's the end of the world. Hineko's face went bright red as she gripped her skirt tightly. Hineko. Well. Issei. Hineko. I'm. Issei. Huh. I'm what? Hineko's face became redder, almost matching the hair of a certain bitch that possesses the power of Issei's quote-unquote old friend. Speaking of which, he wonders where the hell she and the others were. He knew that they were gonna speak about what they saw during the leader summit, but he kinda expected them to show up at his house and try to attack him. What were they planning? Were they doing a sneak attack? Was he the reason? Issei didn't know, but he'll ignore it for now and focus on the matter at hand. What the fuck is wrong with Hineko? Issei. So, Hineko. What is it? Hineko looked around and leaned up to Issei's ear and whispered something. Hineko. I'm in heat. Issei blinked as he took a moment to process the information that he had just been given by Hineko. She was in heat. Heat as in that she and her entire species needed to mate with their partner. She had to be messing with a brown-haired boy because he has never experienced this during any of his other lives. Yes, he has lived through many lives and has done many things. Being in heat was not one of them. Then again, there is a chance that one of his previous lives was in heat, but he just didn't care about it since he had other things that mattered. Issei. Oh. Hineko nodded her head. Issei. You're in heat. She nodded again. Issei. Heat. Hineko. Yes. Issei. As in that you and your entire species have to mate with their partners. Hineko nodded. Issei stared into Hineko's amber eyes, the latter's face becoming redder with every single second. Issei did not expect this. But he had a gut feeling that his sworn brother had something to do with this, but he can't say for sure. He swears to the nothing if that bastard is the reason for this happening. He will tear the core out of him and devour it in front of him. Issei. I swear he's messing with me, I will show him what true suffering is. Issei sighed as he looked at Hineko, whose face was still red. Issei. Come on. We're going somewhere more private. He can't believe he has to deal with this. Why does he of all beings have to deal with this? Oh yeah, he was possessing the body of the human that this damn Nico was in love with. So technically he has to deal with her heat. But why can't she go find some other dick to get fucked by, like go get fucked by some fat bastard or hell even one of those. What were they called again? They were women, but they had male dicks. He was pretty sure he had a previous life as one or two of them. But he can't really remember much about it and he doesn't even care. But why can't Hineko go find one of those and get fucked by them? They went to a private place that was an abandoned building that has been left behind for years. Issei sighed. Issei. This will do. He looked at Hineko. Issei. You know there are other options to handle your heat like there are those. What are they called again? Girls that have dicks. Hineko raised an eyebrow. Issei titled his head, was that what they were called? Wow, his brother sure has some weird names for things. Issei. Is that what they're called? Hineko nodded her head. Hineko. Yeah, that's what I heard. Issei shrugged. Issei. Well, why don't you go find one of those and get fucked? Hineko blushed as she looked away. Hineko. I rather lose my first to you, and if I did find one I'll only get pregnant. Issei deadpanned, she can't be serious. Like she can't legitimately be serious about all of this. Why does it have to be him that takes her first? Why doesn't she just go and find one of those? The brown-haired boy doesn't want to handle all of this right now, he has too much he needs to do. Issei. You have got to be fucking kidding me. I swear to the nothing if that bastard brother of mine is stopping me from doing my plans, he is going to pay for sure. This would be something that he would do, that bastard has been annoying since the moment they were created by the nothing. He also hasn't forgiven him for what he did, he will never forgive the 0 point for what he did to him all those eons ago. People say that even the most evil of beings have a small piece of light within them, but that isn't the case for Issei. The Titan of Terror had no good within him, and it was all because of that bastard. He recalls every single moment of that hellish event that he did to him. Flashback. There was completely nothing but pitch black darkness, and that has no light or anything. It was just complete empty darkness. Except for two. The 0 point and his brother. The primordial darkness. However, it would be a lie if they were the only thing residing within the darkness. There was something else that was with them both, the greatest creation that the Nexus Core had ever made. The Omniverse. The darkness doesn't understand what his brother sees in creation like the Omniverse, since he's the opposite of the 0 pointer. He hated it, he hated the fact that it resided within the same darkness that he did. How could that bastard make something within his domain? The nothing spawned the two at the same time, but he always liked the 0 point rather than the darkness. He always saw him as his greatest creation. Well, he was nothing more than a mere shadow compared to his opposite. Then again, as soon as they spawned together, he immediately hated both the 0 point and the nothing. It was all that he has ever known, and to make it even worse, the 0 point was created with all the power that it could have ever wanted, while he, on the other hand, had absolutely nothing to its name. Hell, the primordial darkness wasn't even its true name. It was merely a title that he obtained because he ruled over the very domain that the Omniverse resided within. He was forced to watch the many lives that resided within the Omniverse, watching them grow and evolve to the point that they could reach universal level of things. He watched them create fanfiction that had beings that could only be told in imagination and whatnot, stating that they were the most powerful that reached tiers such as boundless. He hated it. He despised it. It annoyed him. He wanted it all to end. And yet, there was nothing he could do about it. He was created with no power, forced to watch the quote-unquote greatest creation that any primordial being will ever see. The primordial darkness sighed in annoyance as he continued to watch the many lives residing within the pointless creation before him, his faceless demeanor showing how annoyed he was. The primordial darkness. I hate this. Why do I have to waste my eternal existence watching these pathetic lives? As he grumbled in annoyance, he soon heard the sound of a chuckle, and this was one that caused his faceless demeanor to shift into one that showed a twitching eye expression. You know, that attitude won't get you anywhere. Turning his head, he was greeted by a sight he did want to see, and that was none other than his brother, the creator, the Nexus Core, or his actual name. The 0 point. The darkness let out a growl as he turned away from his brother. The primordial darkness. Why are you here? Shouldn't you be off making more for your so-called perfect creation or whatever? The 0 point. I came to see you, brother. The primordial darkness. Well, piss off. I don't want to see you. The 0 point. Are you still mad that the nothing favored me and mad that I created my pride and joy? The primordial darkness glared at the 0 point, not scaring his brother because he was pretty much used to that glare after a couple of eons. The primordial darkness. What the hell do you think? Now fuck off. The 0 point chuckled. The 0 point. Come on, little brother. You don't need to be so grumpy. Hearing that caused the darkness to growl once again. The primordial darkness. Don't call me that. We are not brothers. Just because we spawned at the same time doesn't mean that we are related at all. The 0 point. You're still my brother whether you like it or not. The primordial darkness. Just get lost. The 0 point. You of all beings should know that I can't. Just because the nothing is no longer residing within your domain doesn't mean I'll just leave you. This angered the primordial darkness even more. Why the hell can't this fucker take the bloody hint and just fuck off? They weren't brothers and they never will be. He hates the 0 point with every part of his eternal body. He didn't have time to handle this annoying bastard. Well, it wasn't like he had anything to do at all, since there was nothing within his domain besides the Omniverse, and he would rather wander through the darkness for eternity than speak with him. The primordial darkness. Just leave me alone. As he turned to float away from the annoying bastard next to him, he heard the 0 point chuckle once again. The 0 point. You know. You're slow. At that moment, the darkness froze where he was as his vision started to become very blurry to the point that even the darkness was becoming altered. What the hell was going on? Why was he feeling like this? Why couldn't he move his body? Was this because of the 0 point? He did just say that he was slow. What the fuck did he mean by that? What the fuck did that bastard just do? The primordial darkness. Z0 point. What the fuck did you do to me? The 0 point faceless expression changed into one that held a small smile. The 0 point. You know, I enjoy your company. You make me feel complete, which is why I made this beautiful creation. He gestured to the Omniverse. The 0 point. I forged it to match your beauty, and you had no idea how much I wanted to show you. The primordial darkness. W what? As the primordial darkness tried to move its body, only resulting in its vision became more blurry by the second. Several glowing tendrils sprouted from the 0 point's back and began to wrap around his brother's body, pulling him close to him. The primordial darkness. Are you trying to kill me? Hearing this caused the 0 point to laugh a little, him kill the very being he forged the Omniverse to match the beauty of. Why in the name of the nothing would he want to do something sinister like that? He had no reason to kill his little brother, he cared so much for more. The 0 point. My sweet darkness. I sometimes think you forget the power I wield. He began to caress the primordial darkness's faceless face, much to his anger, because right now he really wanted to get this bastard off him. The 0 point. If I wanted you dead, I would have simply done so ages ago. But why would I want to kill you? My beloved. The primordial darkness. Stay back. You've gone crazy. The 0 point. I was able to tolerate the nothing giving you now powers, but I could not bear you wandering this infernal nothingness for the rest of your existence. That would be just a waste. He held out his hand to his brother as a small seed appeared within it. The primordial darkness watched as the seed grew into a flower of unrivaled beauty, and strangely enough, it felt familiar to him for some reason. The primordial darkness. What the? The 0 point. I took some of your essences and created this flower and the Omniverse. Hearing this shocked the darkness. Did his brother just say what he think he had just said, or is he actually fully gone off the deep end? The primordial darkness. What? Did you just say that? The 0 point. Yes, this flower is yours, the Omniverse is yours. They were made from your very essence that I was able to obtain, they are you. The darkness was completely caught off guard. No wonder, the 0 pointer loved the Omniverse so much. It was made from his very essence. The Omniverse was him, made from a part of him. He has felt something off about the damn thing ever since he was first forced to watch over those who live within it, but now it all makes sense now. The bastard took his essence and used it to make the abomination before him, another reason to fucking hate him. The primordial darkness. You bastard. As he struggled against the tendrils, they slowly moved and started to force his arms and legs apart. No matter how much he tried to stop them, the primordial darkness couldn't do anything because of whatever his brother did to him. The 0 point could sense his distress and calmly caress his little brother's face, causing him to growl at the touch. The 0 point. Tell me, what am I? The primordial darkness. What? What the hell are you saying now? The 0 point. What am I to you? Just a god that rules over the very creation I made for you, my pride and joy. The primordial darkness went silent as his brother waited for a response, but was only greeted by a cold glare. The primordial darkness. No. You're an arrogant abomination that shouldn't have been spawned from the nothing and created that abomination before me. No matter how hard you try. I'll never return those damn feelings of yours, I'll never love you, I'll never acknowledge you, I'll never see you as my brother. You'll be nothing but a pest like you have been these past eons. I despise you and I'll always will. As the primordial darkness glared at his older brother, the 0 point merely chuckled as if he knew that his opposite was gonna say something like that. Of course, he would. The darkness has shown nothing but negativity ever since they first spawned together, and yet he hasn't been annoyed by it since he cares too much about him. The 0 point. You know, I knew you would say something like that. Which is why I found a way for both of us to be happy. The primordial darkness. Huh. The 0 point. You see, no matter how powerful I am, I can't simply use my power to create another primordial being, since only someone like the nothing can do something like that. The darkness didn't like where this was going, he truly didn't. The 0 point. But soon I found a way. The primordial darkness. And what may that be, you ignorant bastard? The 0 point chuckled. The 0 point. You, my beloved. The primordial darkness. What? The 0 point smiled at his younger brother. The 0 point. You and I shall create a new primordial being, then we'll both be happy. You'll finally be where you are always meant to be. With me, my beloved. The primordial darkness. What the fuck are you saying, you crazy bastard? The 0 point. Just relax, my beloved. Let me do all the work. Flashback end. Issei growled at the memory after saying those words. The 0 point basically raped him for what felt like eons. Yeah. He was raped. Luckily, he was able to escape from his grasp and get far away from him before they continued. That event will forever be scarred within his mind, repeating forever on an endless loop. A reminder to him, telling him what he used to be. Weak. Pathetic. Powerless. Useless. Fragile. Issei. I'll make you pay for what you did, you heartless bastard. Suddenly, Issei sensed something familiar coming toward him and Kaneko. He narrowed his eyes as he turned to face whatever it was. 2 golden electric beams struck him in the chest and sent him flying into the old abandoned warehouse and crashing through the wall. Kaneko. Issei. Kaneko turned to see who attacked her friend, and to her surprise, it was none other than Ria's Gremory, who had a major makeover since the last time she saw her king. For starters, her hair was much bigger and was now golden in color. Her eyes were still crimson red, but now her outfit appeared to be made out of golden scales, and she had a pair of dragon wings on her back, giving her a majestic appearance. Kaneko. Ria's. I knew you would be with you, Kaneko. Kaneko. How did you find us? The golden-haired dragon woman looked at her rook piece. Ria's. You're giving off a strong scent because you're in heat. Kaneko was in shock. How did her king smell her scent when she was in her heat cycle? Kaneko's face slowly started to become red as she gripped her skirt. She was super embarrassed right now because of one reason. She wasn't wearing any panties at the moment. Kaneko. How did yo? Riaz. Don't ask questions, I'll send you somewhere safe. With that, Riaz opened her hand toward Kaneko, and a golden portal appeared behind the white-haired Nico girl. Kaneko. Wait. She was cut off by Riaz pushing Kaneko into the portal as it closed. Riaz, I'm sorry Kaneko. I'm afraid I have to kill the man you love in order to keep you and everything safe. Just then, several magic circles appeared, and from them came Srech's Gremory, Seraphol Leviathan, the other two great Satans, and a whole army of devils that were armed with weapons. They were ready to battle the Titan of Terror if they didn't defy no. If they don't kill him, then it won't be just their race that will be at stake here. Riaz. Brother. Surziches. Riaz, where is he? Riaz. I sent him flying into the warehouse. They all heard growling, and they looked to see Issei surrounded by a dark blood-red aura, while black lighting static was appearing around him. Issei. I wondered when you all would show up. He growled as his drool dripped to the ground, causing the rocky ground to melt a little. This surprised a few of the soldiers as a mixture of fear and horror filled them. Issei. You know, I do love the smell of fear. It's intoxicating. Surziches narrowed his eyes at the monsters as he steps forward, summoning a bowl of destruction in his hand. Surziches. We know who you are, Destoroyah. We will end you and save this universe from your monstrous grasp. Hearing this caused Issei to chuckle darkly. Everyone could feel the wind going thin and silent as a dark horror covered the brown-haired boy's body. Issei. You really think you can stop me? Surziches. Of course, we can. Issei chuckled once again. Issei. Me well. I hate to tell you this, but I am more than merely Issei Haidu or Destoroyah. I am. From the dark aura came a massive monster that looked like something that could put any horror movie to shame. It was like a demon. One that could strike fear into the heart of even God himself. In fact, those who survived the Great War know the appearance of this monster very well, because it was none other than Destoroyah's quote-unquote true self. Destoroyah. I am death, and I don't mean it metaphorically, rhetorically, theoretically, poetically, or any other fancy way. I am death, straight up. Third person POV. Things are going along as I have predicted. Each and every moment is going as I have planned. Before long I shall achieve what I have been after for so many years. No one can stop me now, not God, not Ghidorah, not the three factions, not even that bastard the 0 Point. I shall achieve the power to rival my own creator. Currently, the 0 Point was staring at his greatest creation, the Omniverse, which resided within an endless black abyss known as the Great Abyss. The place where his creator and quote-unquote father had created both him and his beloved, spawned from complete nothingness and given life from his power. Silence filled the entire abyss as he just stared at his creation, many thoughts going through his mind. He had foreseen the declaration of war by his beloved, his rage and bloodlust had filled the universe he resided within, and was slowly spreading across every single universe, multiverse, and megaverse that resided within the Omniverse. The 0 Point knew that his beloved was drawing closer and closer to his goal, achieving what he has not received from the nothing when he was created from complete nothingness. Power. He was obtaining power. Each life he had lived was only so he could slowly incubate and obtain power that may bring him close to near invincibility. The Nexus Core feels like if he and his beloved were to clash against one another, it could bring the end of everything or make the nothing finally get involved after eons of doing nothing whatsoever. The 0 Point. My love. He doesn't want this. The 0 Point does not want a war with his beloved. Those lesser beings believe that he must be destroyed for their lives to be spared. They weren't even meant to exist. The entire purpose of the Omniverse was to show the primordial darkness how much he cared for him, how much he loved him. He can't kill him. He can't harm him. He cared about him. The 0 Point. I do not want this. Suddenly, the 0 Point heard a loud and yet very old chuckle which caused the Nexus Core to freeze where he was. It was something he was very familiar with. Actually, he believed that he would never feel this presence ever again. You certainly haven't changed, have you? 0 Point. Slowly turning his head to the source of the voice, he was greeted by none other than his God, his creator, his father, and the very first primordial. The nothing. The 0 Point. You. The nothingness. You don't want to fight with your own brother out of love. The 0 Point. Why are you here? You haven't shown yourself ever since you spawned my beloved and I. The nothing merely chuckled. The nothingness. I decided to stop by and see how you and your brother were doing. Gotta say I'm surprised that he's trying to achieve a level of power equal to me. The 0 Point remained silent as he stared at his creator. He couldn't feel anything coming from the being before him, but that didn't mean that he was powerless. In fact, it was the complete opposite. He was so powerful that his power could not be sensed by anyone or anything. The nothingness. You know I can create many versions of your brother if you want, but I know you refuse my offer. The 0 Point. That's right, because I only need one. The nothingness. I knew you would say something like that, also you might have not heard the news. but something is coming, something big. This gained the 0 Point's attention, as he had a feeling that his father wasn't talking about the war that his beloved had declared. No, what the Nothing was talking about was a completely different topic. The 0 Point. What's coming? The Nothing chuckled. The nothingness. A very rare sight, a meeting of two outer gods. The 0 Point. Outer gods. Who are they? The nothingness. That's right, you don't know yet. The outer gods are primordials whose mere presence transcends all concepts and meanings. They stand above those who are bound by the tier system. Creators, destroyers. The outer gods do whatever they desire because no one has the authority to tell them otherwise. They are the absolute definition of a god. The 0 Point was surprised to hear this come from the Nothing of all beings. His mere presence transcends everything, and yet he's speaking about the outer gods with high respect. That is what confuses the Nexus core. He has known his creator for the longest of times, despite him not getting involved with anything. He knows that he rarely speaks highly about anyone or anything. The 0 Point. I see. But who are they? The Nothing chuckled once again. Ever since both the primordial darkness and the 0 Point were created, he had always been the curious one. Always wants to learn more and more, but sometimes he feels like that curiosity will be his downfall one day. The nothingness. You're just as curious as always. The 0 Point sighs in annoyance. He was really getting tired of the Nothing just avoiding the question. He doesn't have time to deal with this. There were more important things to deal with, such as the war that was happening at this very moment. But he can't help but wonder who these so-called outer gods are, because he hasn't got a drop of knowledge about who or what they were. Plus he gets the feeling that the beings within that universe could handle themselves. The 0 Point. If you don't want to tell me, then don't. I have better things to do right now. The nothingness. Oh, I do want to tell you. I just can't. The 0 Point. And why is that? The Nothing crossed his arms. The nothingness. The true outer god doesn't want to be revealed, so I physically can't say his name or show his name in any other way. The nothingness. And the other. The Nothing deadpanned at the Nexus core, who let out a small sigh. He had a feeling that it would be the exact same thing as the other one. The 0 Point. You so can't tell me at all. The nothingness. Nope, even if I could. I'm sure you don't care, you have your beloved to handle. If I am correct. The 0 Pointer was silent, giving the Nothing answer. The nothingness. Well then, I wish you luck on that. If you need any help, I'll give you a new primordial to assist you. The 0 Point. I can take care of this myself. I don't need another primordial's help. The nothingness. If you say so. Just call my name and I'll send one to you. Good luck, kiddo. The 0 Point rolled his eyes at his father. Why does he speak as if they had any sort of good relationship together? He basically abandoned both himself and his beloved the moment he created them both. He was no father to him. With that, the Nothing vanished and left the 0 Point where he was. He had to say that meeting his own creator was something he never wants to do again. Why would he care for someone who basically abandoned him and his beloved the moment they spawned into existence? There was no point in getting mad, since if he even tried, he would just erase him from existence, and that would be it. Hell, if he wanted to, he could do it to the primordial darkness, but he doesn't because he doesn't see a reason to do so. Why would he feel the need to get rid of something that was no threat to him? There was just no reason. The 0 Point. Well, I better get preparations ready. He looked at his beloved creation one last time, as he could see the devils fighting his beloved as Destoroyah. The 0 Point. I'm gonna hate every single moment of this. Destoroyah roared loudly as he fired a beam from his mouth at some of the flying devils. They managed to dodge the attack in the nick of time, but it resulted in a massive explosion that illuminated the sky. It was so bright that everyone within the town could see it, telling them that there was something going on. Briaz. TCH, that was close. Briaz unleashed a bolt of golden electricity at the monster, striking his side and causing him to look over at her. He growled as he grabbed an old car and threw it at her with immense speed, making her eyes widen as she quickly activated her intangibility and allowed the car to go through her body. She had to say, that was a close one. She nearly forgot that even in his other forms, Destoroyah was still perfectly able to move with such speed. The monster roared as he took to the sky and threw a punch at her, but it only phased through her body. This made her smirk as he unleashed another electrical attack at his face, but it didn't do any damage to the creature, who opened its mouth and started to charge up an attack. Briaz. Shit. Issei fired a massive purple bead at her, which she quickly warped space-time around it and curved the beam toward the ground, which resulted in a massive explosion that nearly wiped out half of the devil soldiers that were on the ground. Briaz. Okay, that was close. Issei roared as the devils fired their attacks, but Issei shrugged it off like it was nothing, and he grabbed the two great satans. Surziches. Arg. Let us go. In an instant, Issei's arm was turned to dust as Surziches landed on the ground and summoned a ball of destruction in his hand. He then threw it at the monster's other arm, which freed Seraphol from its grasp. The Leviathan took this chance to use her magical power. Seraphol. Ice wave. She unleashed a massive wave of ice toward Issei, who had regenerated his arms the moment he lost his other one, stabbing the monster in the chest and sending it crashing into the abandoned warehouse. Issei growled as he stood up and felt something impale from behind, and he looked to see Beelzebub impaled a massive earth spike on his leg. Issei grabbed Beelzebub and growled as he glared at the Devil King. Beelzebub. Let go. Issei began to slowly crush him, making the Devil King scream in agony. Surzich. Beelzebub. They tried to help their comrade only for Issei to knock them away with his tail as he fully crushed Beelzebub as blood squirted out of his hand. Seraphol. Nuo. Destoroyah chuckled as he looked at both Surziches and Seraphol, his eyes full of bloodlust as he grew a sinister grin. Issei. You'll be joining him soon. Seraphol gritted her teeth as she watched Destoroyah simply tossed away the crushed body of Beelzebub like it was nothing more than a piece of trash. Seraphol. Surziches. Let's end this monster. The crimson red-haired Devil King nodded his head as he summoned two massive orbs of power of destruction. Issei was gonna prevent them from what they were about to do. However, he soon felt something grab both his arms and legs and looked to see that it was Riaz holding him back with the astral heads of Ghidorah. Riaz? I don't think so. Seraphol took this chance to charge toward and start surfing into the air on a trail of ice. Issei growled in anger. He wasn't just gonna stand by and take some damage like some idiot. Both his eyes started to glow as he unleashed a powerful shockwave-like attack that radiated immense heat from his body. Seraphol's eyes widened as she quickly summoned a magical barrier to protect herself from the heat. Surziches managed to do the same thing, and Riaz was completely fine thanks to her intangibility. However, the same couldn't be said for the devil soldiers and for the surrounding area. That attack Issei had just done, the heat that came off the monster's body was so hot that it basically melted the abandoned warehouse in a matter of seconds, reducing it to nothing more than a melted puddle. The people nearby saw this and were worried. Boy. Mommy, I'm scared. What's happening? Mom? I'm not sure, sweetie. Issei roared loudly, but he was soon silenced as his face was struck by the two balls of destruction that were thrown by Surziches, resulting in half of the monster's face being destroyed. However, he knew that those two balls of destruction won't be enough to take down the beast before him. This was gonna push him to his absolute limit. Surziches. Now, Seraphol. The Leviathan quickly summoned numerous eye spikes, each very sharp enough to pierce even through dragon scales. She then launched the said spikes toward Issei and stabbed him in numerous areas of his body, such as his face, arms, wings, tail, feet and legs, and one of them even destroyed the horn that was on his head. Issei growled and tried to get up, but Seraphol kept blasting more and more ice shards at him. Riaz. Keep it up. Issei roared in anger as he was continuously struck by the ice shards. He fired a beam toward Seraphol. However, a portal soon appeared before her and the beam went into it. This resulted in Issei glaring at Riaz, who simply smirked. That power came from her since Ghidorah was able to open portals to places. Riaz. I don't think so. Time for a taste of your own medicine. She snapped her fingers as the portal appeared once again. Destoroyah looked up only to be struck by his own attack, which forced him to fall to the ground. Devil number 1. Did that get him? Devil number 2. I hope so. Devil number 3. There's no way that he had survived all that. Riaz. I wouldn't get your hopes up. Suddenly, everyone heard a low yet loud growl which sent shivers down everyone's spines. There was no way that he had survived all of that. They had to be just hearing things. However, things aren't as they seem because they watched in horror and fear as Destoroyah slowly stood up. But the ice spikes falling out of his body and his destroyed face regenerating in a matter of seconds, the growl soon turned into a chuckle, while his eyes glowed purple. Issei. I have to say, that was good. Riaz gritted her teeth while Seraphol and Surziches were shocked. How the hell was he able to withstand all of that and still shrug it off, as if nothing had ever happened to him? This creature before them truly was a monster that had to be destroyed. They needed to get rid of it because it painted the entire world blood red. Issei. My turn. Just then, the ground beneath everyone started to turn a bright purple color, and it spread across the entire town of Kuo, causing widespread panic among the people, as they had no idea what was going on or who was causing this to happen. The devils thought it was originally an attack, and many took to the air, but to their surprise, the ones who remained on the ground weren't being affected by anything. Surziches. What is this, Destoroyah? What are you planning? The crimson red-haired Devil King glared at the monster, who simply had a grin on his face. Whatever he was planning couldn't be a good thing, because no one just changes the color of the ground beneath their feet and it does nothing. There had to be a reason for him to do all of this, but what was that reason? Issei. I'm just calling some pets. Seraphol. Pets, what p? The Leviathan was cut off as she and the other devils heard screams of terror and pain coming from all around them. They looked around and to their shock and horror, Destoroyah had summoned some sort of monsters, and they were causing chaos across the town of Kuo. The first appeared to be a vulture-like creature, but had bat wings, while the other one had the appearance of a dragon, but it only had 2 arms and a very long tail. Ria's eyes widened when she saw the monsters who roared, turning their attention to the people of Kuo. Rias? Are those Surziks? You know those things, Rias? Rias? Yeah, when I obtained my new powers. I also gained knowledge of creatures that existed ages before the Great War, in fact before Lucifer was betrayed by God. Seraphol. What are they? Rias? They're known as cages, the big ones are skullcrawlers, and the smaller creatures are helix. Seraphol. Do you know their weaknesses? Rias? The hellwacks are easily killable, as for the skullcrawlers they have tougher hides, but they can be killed. Issei growled as he turned and fired a beam at Rias, but was blocked by a magical barrier that was placed by Surziches. The monster's eyes glowed red as he glared at the member of the 4 great Satans. He was really getting tired of these fucking magical barriers. It was already bad enough that he couldn't move, actually. Why the fuck hasn't he tried breaking out of those binds? Issei. Alright. That's it. Using all of the force he could muster, Issei freed himself from the astral heads that held his limbs. He roared loudly as his body slowly started to glow red. Seraphol summoned more ice spikes and launched them toward the monster in hopes that she could slow him down. However, when they made contact with the monster's body, they simply bounced off his body. Seraphol. Huh. In just a blink, Issei appeared in front of her and tried to devour her, but she managed to escape in time, but however, she lost her left arm. Issei's fangs. Seraphol. Ah. Blood gushed out of the missing as Issei used his tail to send her flying into the ground, causing a massive crater. Issei. At least, I won't have to deal with you and your stupid ice shards. Issei turned as he was struck in the face by Ria's electricity, causing the monster to growl in anger. Issei. I'm getting tired of you. He spread his wings and charged toward the Grimoire Hieris, his claws and fangs ready to kill her, but Ria simply used her intangibility to protect herself as she battled against the monster. Issei threw a punch, it went through her body, and she simply uppercut him. Meanwhile, Surziches was tending to Seraphol, who was on the ground in pain. He took out a vial and opened the top, pouring the substance onto where the Leviathan arm used to be, and in a matter of seconds, her arms grew back. Surziches. You okay? Seraphol. Why yeah, good thing we have those Phoenix Tears. Surziches nodded his head. Phoenix Tears are a special type of healing potion created by the Phoenix clan, which could heal any injury. A single drop can regenerate the user's injuries and health, but obtaining the Phoenix Tears is nearly impossible to obtain because of how long it takes to make them. They turned to the 2 titans who were headbutting each other, causing loud booms or explosions. Seraphol. Should we help? Surziches. Rias can handle that monster, we need a plan. The Grimoire is correct. Both Seraphol and Surziches perked up and turned to the voice, their eyes widening as they saw none other than the creator of the universe, the father of creation himself. God. Seraphol. G. God of the Bible. Elohim nodded his head. Elohim? Yes, indeed. I am that I am. Surziches. Why are you here? More importantly, you should be dead. Elohim. I'm here to get you both and the owner of Ghidorah's power out of here. We need to come up with a plan to take that monster down. Surzich. What about the humans? Seraphol. Yeah. We can't leave them to die. Yahweh fell silent, he could save them. He had the power to save all of the humans in the town, but with a snap of his fingers, and things should be alright. However, Destoroyah will soon figures out that it was because of him that the humans disappeared and track him down. The creator of the universe was gonna say something, but looking around and seeing the fear, the death, the suffering. He couldn't stand any of it, he had to save them all. His children. It was his purpose as a father. He needed to protect them. Save them. Elohim. I got this. But the snap of his fingers, every single human in the town of Kuo disappeared from the skullcrawlers and the hellwacks, which surprised the monsters as they looked around for their prey, wondering where the hell their food just went. Elohim. Okay, they should be safe now. Elohim snapped his fingers and teleported both Surziches and Seraphol out of the battlefield. He then turned his attention to Rias and Destoroyah, who were locked in combat. The father of the universe could just simply teleport her away from the battle. However, he doesn't need to, since he can recall that Ghidorah possesses the power to open up portals. Sure, it wasn't like teleportation, but it was still something and an impressive ability either way. Elohim. I guess I don't need to help. Elohim sighed and created a portal back to his hideout as he entered it. Destoroyah roared as he threw a punch at Rias, but once again it simply went through the girl's body as she smirked and fired another blast of electricity into the monster's face. Rias. You really aren't as smart as I remember, Destoroyah. Issei. Grrr. Suddenly, Issei grew a grin as his eyes glowed purple. She then watched as both his clawed arms were covered by some sort of purple aura, confusing her because she doesn't have any memories of Destoroyah doing this move in the past. Issei. Destroyer Claw. Issei swung his claws at Rias, who was still in her intangibility form. However, to her shock, the claws made contact with her arm and left a nasty cut on it. Her eyes widened as Issei grinned. He was about to strike again, but was prevented as he was forced back by the astral heads of Giddo. Issei. Those fucking heads. Rias looked at her arm, which was now bleeding. How the hell did he do that? How did he manage to land a hit on her? She was in her intangibility form. That shouldn't be possible, unless Destoroyah was evolving at a rapid rate. Rias gritted her teeth. Rias. I gotta regroup with the others. Destoroyah roared as he charged toward Rias once again, his claws spread out and ready to slice Rias in half. But before he could do that, the Grimoire Hieress blinded him by blasting his face with her electricity. Issei roared in annoyance as Rias took this chance to open a portal and go through it, closing the portal behind her. Issei. Tch. Coward. Just then, Issei sniffed the air as he picked up a very familiar scent. One that he hasn't picked up on since ancient days, the scent of an old enemy. He let out a small chuckle as his eyes glowed purple. Issei. It's been a while, Yahweh, you showed up, huh? Good. I knew I could count on you. Old friend. Third person Pav. Humans are strange kind of creatures, they lack any sort of special ability besides their simple adaptability. They aren't fierce, they aren't powerful. Yet, they continue to push through the challenges before them. Looks like that saying is true. I mess with one of them, I mess with all of them. Destruction. Chaos. That was now the status of the town of Kuo since the first strike against Issei, or as he was also known as Destoroyah and the Primordial Darkness. Because the civilians had been teleportation away, the monster's pets had no food and went on a rampage to try and find anything or anyone to devour. Issei knew that they wouldn't find anything in the town, which is why he sent several of his pets to try and search any close cities or towns. Sure, God could have sent them somewhere in another dimension, or he could have brought them somewhere hidden but close by. Issei. Oh, Yahweh. At a time like this, you show up and meddle with my plans. You're more annoying than that Nico bitch. Currently, Issei, who was still in his monster form, was perched on top of a destroyed building as he gazed at the ruins below him. He chuckled slightly. Such destruction on this scale was nothing to what he has seen and created in his other lives. This won't be the first and shall not be the last, because everything will soon be in ruin, lives shall be extinguished, and the light shall be swallowed whole. Issei. I grow tired of this long game of hide and seek. Just then, the monster heard something and turned his head to see one of the Helix. Issei. What news do you have for me? The creature made some small yet loud chirp-like growls and roars, as if it was speaking to Issei. However, the poor thing didn't get to finish as Issei grew an angered expression and grabbed the creature by the neck. Issei. I can't even rely on brainless animals to find some simple insects. He threw the animal on the building he was perched on, rearing his clawed foot back and kicking it off with immense force. And the Helix splattered into pieces as Issei growled. Issei. Tch. All of these animals are useless if they can't even find one simple bug. Suddenly, Issei got an idea, and this one made a sinister smirk grow on his face. If he can't rely on his own pets to find his prey, then he'll just use something else to do that. Issei. I'll force the mortals on this planet to find them for me. He chuckled as he stood up. Several skullcrawlers and Helix who were on the ground looked up at their master. Issei. It's time for the world to know about me, no more hiding, no mercy. Issei smirked as he stared up into the sky, the sun slowly setting over the horizon, as the once bright blue sky had changed into a deep dark orange one. Issei. The time is drawing closer to my ascension. Issei looked at his servants and grinned. Issei. Find the mortals on this planet and bring them to me. If I can't find God and the other pests, then I'll make God come to me by using his precious children. The skull crawlers and the Helix roared as they turned and rushed off into the wilderness, tearing through anything and everything that they came across. Issei watched him go as he chuckled. Why waste his own time when he could merely make others do it for him? Besides, he has all the time in the Omniverse while God and the pest are running out of it. They may have his so-called brother on their side, but even with him, they shall fall against him. He was darkness itself. Eternal, unyielding, unbreakable, incorruptible. Issei. Let us see if you can save your precious children from my claws, God. And so, the Helix and skullcrawlers scattered and went to every town, city, and nation across the globe in search of all the humans. They went to everything, every single place. America. Africa. Australia. Tokyo. Canada. Egypt. New York. You name it, they went there, and boy they caused major scenes. The news spoke about nothing but the creatures that were invading their homes and taking people. No one could stop them. Not even the military. They took every single human back to their master, including the old, the children, and the women. Hindu faction. In the Hindu pantheon was one of the most powerful beings in the entire universe, the god of destruction, the destroyer himself. Shiva. Shiva was minding his own business, growing his power so he could become stronger than he already was, which made no sense since he was a god of destruction. However, he soon felt a wave of dread wash over him, and that was something he has not felt before in his entire existence. Shiva. My, I wonder what's going on in the human world. He snaps his fingers and creates a magical screen out of his flames, and his eyes widen in horror. The god of destruction saw vicious monsters, one larger than the other, collecting humans and bringing them somewhere. He looked everywhere in the world and he saw the same thing happening, but when he made the screen show Japan, his 5 eyes widened in pure fear because he saw the legendary monster, the real god of destruction, the destroyer of creation, and the bringer of death. Shiva. And no. It can't be. No. Anything but him. Buddhist faction. In the Buddhist pantheon was a legendary being who many believe stands above all gods, someone who no one could possibly defeat because the entire universe was his hand. The honored one, the mighty one, the one and only. Buddha himself. Buddha was in the heavenly fields minding his own business while eating a basket of candies until all of a sudden he felt a wave of chaos that he never felt before. Buddha. What is going on down there? He placed a lollipop in his mouth and using his powers, he viewed what was happening in the mortal world, and he had to say that he was taken aback. He almost thought that the creatures belonged to the other pantheons, but the more he watched the more he realized that it wasn't the case. Those creatures belonged to someone or rather something else, whatever it was. It was gonna pay for ruining his snack time. Buddha. Where are they taking those humans? He used his powers to look everywhere in the world until he stopped at Japan and his eyes widened. Buddha. Wait, that's where that small town is located. Just who is behind all this? Egyptian faction. In the Egyptian pantheon was a powerful being, said to be even stronger than Shiva himself, the god of the sun and the creator of the universe. Amon-Ra. Ra was sitting on his throne with his eyes closed until he felt that wave of malice that he never felt before. Ra. By the light. Was it this malicious energy? Said energy reminded the sun god of his arch-nemesis, the crimson cobra of chaos, Apophis. However, he knew that it wasn't him because he banished the fiend to the depths of the unknown void for whence he came. He summoned a medium sun and used it to view what was happening in the human world. When he did, Ra was greeted by the sight of the monster of unimaginable horror and viciousness, capturing the mortals who pray for him and taking them away. Ra. What in the name of the Nile River? Was this the work of Cobra? No, he knew he would sense him immediately if he came back, and he knew it wasn't the other pantheons behind all this, so someone more malicious and evil and stronger might be behind this. Whatever was causing this may end up needing the power of all the Egyptian gods, but that is if Ra couldn't just handle it himself. He was Amon-Ra, the sun god and by far the most powerful god in the entire universe. Ra. Whoever is behind all this. They shall pay for taking my children. Meanwhile in the Bermuda Triangle. Things were, to say the least, going well at the Bermuda Triangle, the prison of the beast of the apocalypse. God, Serziches, Seraphol, Sona, Rias, their peerages, and all the humans were in one of the many large rooms. They told the humans about the supernatural and Issei being the reincarnation of Destoroyah. Mickey and Guru have seemed very heartbroken and upset that their own son was not the boy they once knew, but they wondered what made him like this. Mickey. Rias, please tell me something. Rias, yes Miss Haidu. Mickey. What turned my baby boy into that monster? Rias looked at the brown-haired woman and let out a sad sigh. Rias. I'm afraid, I do not know. I think that it would have been only a matter of time before the primordial darkness took control. Mickey. I see. She looks down as tears spilled from her eyes. Rias sighed to herself because it was all her fault that Issei was like this because he overheard her plan on getting rid of him and taking his sacred gear. And yet, she knows that she is to blame for all of this chaos. She can't help but feel like this would have been inevitable, Issei would have still turned on them all. Serziches. What do we do? How can we defeat him? Elohim sighed. Elohim. I do not know, I have used my power to view into the future. Many futures. Seraphol. How many did you view? Elohim. 8,968,534,219 different futures. Serziches. How many did we win? Yahweh remained silent, not sure if he should tell them about what he had seen when he used his power. But he should tell them, they deserved to know the truth about their future. Elohim. None. All of their eyes widen. Seraphol. So there is no victory for us. Elohim. I'm afraid so. Everyone looked down as they knew fighting back was pointless, and no matter how hard they tried they could never beat Issei, and they never will. They were doomed. The draconic Deus universe was doomed. Creation is doomed. Everything in the Omniverse is doomed. Just then, a devil flew over to Surziches and bowed to him. Devil. Lord Surziches. There's something you gotta see. Surzich. What is it? Elohim narrowed his eyes, he had a feeling he knew what the devil was about to say. In fact, he had a feeling that his old enemy would do something like this. Although, he didn't expect him to do it this quickly. This was much faster than he believed in would have been, but Destoroyah was never the type to wait for things to happen. Elohim. I think I know. Everyone watched as Elohim created a portal-like mirror that showed the state of the town of Kuo, monsters roaming the streets and sky. But that wasn't all, they saw all the humans that the primordial darkness had collected, all of them from around the globe. Man. Woman. Children. Elder. Hibba. What is going on? Elohim. He's using the humans from other countries to bring me out. Seraphol. But how did he manage to collect them all in just a short amount of time? Something like this would have taken months. Surziches. He didn't do it. He had his pets do it for him. Elohim nodded his head in agreement, they all watched as someone stood on top of one of the ruined buildings, and it was none other than Issei. Issei. I know you're watching Yahweh, so I'm gonna get straight to the point. You and Ghidorah come out and face me, or I'll murder these humans one by one after a single hour, and if you don't. Issei looked at a woman hugging her children protectively, and he smiled sinisterly before he shot an air bullet, causing her head to splatter, as the children screamed horrified and sad that they got killed in front of them. Issei. You better hurry if you don't want any more to die, because the clock is ticking. Everyone who had just watched what had happened was shocked and horrified. Those who knew Issei personally were left broken by what they had just witnessed. Elohim. I have to go. Surziches. Elohim Dono, you can't go alone. He'll tear you apart. Elohim. That is true. He has evolved since the last time I faced him, he was intelligent, but this level of planning is beyond my mind. Elohim clenched his hand into a fist as he turned to the humans who were in the room, seeing the fear in their eyes. They believed that they were gonna die, that their lives were over. Elohim. My children. I had not have been there for you in your times of need. But I will make amends by going to rescue your fellow brothers and sisters. They turned to their father and smiled happily as the children walked up and hugged his legs as he smiled and pat their heads. Elohim was about to leave and go to Kuo, but… Mickey? Wait. Please take us with you. God turned to Mickey and Goru. Mickey. We just want to talk to him. Elohim. But… Goru. Please, my lord. He may not be the boy we once knew, but he's still our son. Elohim remained silent, not sure what to say. I'll go in their place. Everyone perked up as the sound of footsteps echoed all around them. Elohim couldn't help but chuckle at the sound of the voice. Elohim. I didn't think I would see you again, I thought you hated me. I do, but we have a common goal. God. Is that your reason? I don't need any of that. There is no reason why. Is there any man that needs a reason to protect his own children? Elohim grew a small smile as everyone watched as someone came out of the darkness. The person was a short, young, and muscular man with supreme beauty that even aroused beings like Elohim. He had platinum blonde hair and big sky blue eloquent eyes. Elohim. I guess you're right. Adam. Everyone's eyes widened from what they had just heard from God of the Bible. Did they hear that correctly? Riaz. Wait a minute. The Adam. The Keno. The first man. Hibba. And the father of mankind. Adam nodded his head. All the humans couldn't believe their eyes, it was him. The first human, the father of humanity. God chuckled as he remembered Adam's creation, he was created in the image and likeness of the gods. However, after being expelled from heaven along with his wife, Eve, the two descended to earth and proceeded to give rise to humanity. Adam. Shall we get going then, old man? He said, turning to Elohim, who chuckled at the name. Elohim. Hey, I'm not that old, you brat. Adam rolled his eyes as he turned his attention to both Mickey and Goru. Adam. I'll bring your son back, even if I must lay down my life. Mickey. Thank you, father. Adam nodded his head as he and Elohim nodded their heads to each other before God made a portal. Adam. Let's go. Elohim nodded his head as both he and Adam walked through the portal, closing it behind them. Third person Pav. It's coming, I can feel it approaching. The battle, the one that shall shake everything, the battle that not even a primordial could possibly dream of. Who's gonna win? Good. Evil. Light. Darkness. I honestly don't care, because I already know the outcome of the battle. Destruction. After exiting the portal that Yahweh had created for them both, Adam was greeted by the grim sight of a destroyed city of Kuo, buildings laid in ruin, and it was void of any kind of life. But this was a good thing since God had actually saved the father of humanity's children from suffering at the claws of that monster, but he failed to do one thing, and that was save all of his children. Now that monster has them, Issei Kaiju Destoroyah, the primordial darkness, or whatever his name was. It didn't matter to Adam, all he cared about was saving his children from the clutches of a demo. No, he was no demon. He was a monster. This was a monster who put the servant to shame in so many ways, since that creature still cared about someone or something. But Adam still remembers that day, the day he and his wife Eve was expelled from Eden. Long ago, both he and Eve lived happily in the Garden of Eden and lived alongside other fellow creations. But that all came crumbling down due to the serpent. He was interested in Eve, so he tried to make her his through force. Eve was saved by some birds, managing to escape. Angered by this, the serpent took a bite out of the forbidden fruit from the tree of knowledge and used that as forged evidence against her. Despite the evidence having been clearly forged, the heavenly court of justice, which consisted entirely of gods, ruled Eve guilty. When she was about to be expelled from the garden, since the chances of a human receiving a guilty verdict on the God's trial were 99.99999%. Adam broke into the courtroom with 2 baskets full of the forbidden fruit and took a bite out of all of them, so he would be expelled from the Garden of Eden along with his wife. As Adam and Elohim walked through the streets of the destroyed town, they could feel themselves being watched by prying eyes. Adam. Looks like we've been spotted. Elohim. Indeed, it looks like we have. Suddenly, the ground began to shake and rumble as cracks started to appear within the road. Both God and Adam watched as the cracks grew bigger, sucking a few houses into the darkness below and never to be seen again. But then, one of the primordial darkness's pets, a skull crawler, a smaller one at that, burst through one of the ruined buildings and roared loudly. Elohim. I guess he's the welcoming party. Adam. Seems like it. Elohim. You wanna take this one? Or shall I just SN? Before God could finish his sentence, he noticed that Adam was no longer next to him. This should really surprise him since Adam was created to be a copy of the gods themselves, so it was natural that he would have insane levels of speed and strength. However, it would have been polite to allow the father of creation to finish what he was saying before taking off, and Astaroth called him reckless. He turned his head and watched as the father of humanity merely socked the creature in the jaw, killing it instantly and while having a blank face. Adam. Move please. The now deceased creature fell to the ground, causing a pretty loud thud to be heard from quite a distance, and blood started pouring out of its mouth as Adam began to crack his shoulders. He then looked back at God and raised an eyebrow. Adam. Well, shall we get going? Yahweh couldn't help but sigh slightly and shook his head. He was really never gonna get used to how Adam speaks. Elohim. Yeah, let's get going beefo. Before what, my old friend? Before I show up and ruin your day. Both Adam and Elohim froze where they stood as that was the voice of the creature they came to face, the voice of the monster who threatened to kill Adam's children. Elohim gritted his teeth slightly. He knew that his old enemy would have found them sooner or later. But he didn't expect him to find them both this quickly, like it was like that he instantly knew that they appeared in the town. Both Adam and Elohim were soon greeted by a massive amount of bloodlust, causing a shiver to run down their spines as sweat ran down their foreheads. This bloodlust wasn't like anything they had ever felt before in their entire lives. In fact, the bloodlust was so strong that their entire vision was nothing but pure scarlet red, no other color whatsoever, and they were finding it difficult to breathe. Elohim, Yahweh, Jehovah, the biblical God. The being who was omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent was finding it hard to fucking breathe. That ain't there is truly unreal because how could God need air? He doesn't need sleep, food, water, or air to be alive because he just exists. And yet, that whole thing was being thrown out the window because of that one beast. Both Elohim and Adam managed to gather enough strength to slowly turn their heads in the direction the voice came from, and lo, and behold, there he was. The Kaiju Destoroyah. The primordial darkness. The devourer of light. The dark primordial. Issei Kaiju. He was standing about a solid few feet away from the two, his eyes glowing purple as he had a sinister toothy grin slapped across his face. Issei. I was wondering when you were gonna show up, old friend. Elohim. Well. I'm here, you monster. Issei. I can see that. I also see that you brought a friend with you, and it's none other than Adam, the father of humanity, and the quote-unquote father of the mortal I took over. Adam stared at Issei as he slowly turned and stared him down, no longer caring about the bloodlust he was feeling. Adam. So you're him, the primordial darkness. Issei. Indeed, I am. Issei. What's the matter? Got no war. Adam. Give him back. Issei. Adam pointed at Issei. Adam. Give me back my son, Destoroyah. Issei grinned and laughed. Issei, you're going have to kill me if you want him back, Adam. Elohim. Careful Adam, I don't know if your ability will work on him. Adam? Won't matter. Adam walked towards Issei and summoned his divine treasure, which was brass knuckles. Issei saw this and let out full-blown laughter. Issei. Really, what's brass knuckles gonna? Boom. Issei was sent skidding back from the one blow Adam landed. Issei went flying through several buildings, leaving them even more destroyed than they were already. Before long, he soon stopped and brought himself back to his feet. He looked up in the direction of Adam and God, glaring at the Father of humanity. Adam? Oh, I forgot that happens. Below him. Well, time to rumble. God held out his hand, summoning an orb of light as he fired it toward Issei, who at this point started charging toward the two. He saw the attack coming and simply tanked it. However, this resulted in a massive explosion appearing, and it was so powerful that it actually cleared the sky itself and allowed God, Adam, and the humans who were being held captive to see several planets above. Human 1. Whoa, what the hell? Human 2. We're so fucked. Human 3. You're right, what's the point of living? Back with Adam and God, the first human turned to the Father of creation and raised an eyebrow. Below him. What? Adam? When could you do that, Gramps? God. You know nothing about me, do I? Suddenly, both Adam and God were cut off as they heard a growl. They turned their attention to the massive cloud of dust and smoke. From within they could see a pair of glowing purple eyes, and in an instant, Issei leaped out with a pair of massive wings on his back. Issei glared down at the two, who got into fighting stances. Issei. I'm gonna make you regret that. Issei summoned his tail and charged toward it before he slapped God far away and threw a powerful punch at Adam, launching him into several broken buildings. However, this did minor damage to Adam as he got back up and cracked his neck. Adam? Not bad. Issei roared and charged toward him, both his fists glowing purple, as he started to throw several punches at the Father of humanity. But Adam started to dodge each and every single punch that Issei threw. This only made the brown-haired boy smirk. Issei, I know your power, Adam. Punch and dodge. Adam raised an eyebrow as he kept dodging. Adam? You do. Punch and dodge. Punch and dodge. Punch and dodge. Issei. Of course, I've been in several worlds and one had you facing off against Zeus. Punch and dodge. Punch and dodge. Punch and dodge. Punch and dodge. Adam? Cool. Issei. Yes, you are a being created in the image and likeness of the gods. As a man designed in the image of Yahweh, you were gifted with the ability to perfectly replicate any move and technique you lay your eyes upon, including the ones used by divine beings, regardless of its speed or power. Punch and dodge. Punch and dodge. Punch and dodge. Punch and dodge. Issei. Which is why I know you're using them right now. Issei knew what his power was and it was called. Issei. Divine reflection. I personally think eyes of the Lord are better. He then reared a fist back as the purple aura around it darkened. Issei. But that doesn't matter. He then threw a punch at Adam, only for his own attack to strike him in his own face. This surprised Adam as the first human turned and saw God had returned from wherever he was launched and had opened a portal in front of Issei's attack. God. Now, Adam. Attack him. Adam nodded and jumped up to Issei and released a fury of fast blows all over him. Issei. Arg. As Issei fell to the ground, he growled in anger. Why the hell was he losing? How the hell was he not tearing them apart with his power? He soon noticed something in the corner of his eye, something that filled him with an insane amount of anger and rage. That something was a small flower, glowing slightly and filled with pure energy. Issei gritted his teeth, letting out a low but very loud growl. Issei. Oh, why does that motherfucker keep being a pain in the ass? Issei was now filled with pure rage and disgust. How dare that bastard? How dare he summons those disgusting flowers before him? The primordial darkness hated his so-called brother's flowers. He would always summon them, reminding him that everything he does is for him. Just another reminder, a reminder that his ascension is upon the Omniverse. Before long the very thing that was called his quote-unquote child shall experience something never seen before, the rise of a true primordial. Issei. So. You two are getting help. Adam? Adam watched as Issei placed a hand on the ground, the purple aura now changing the color of the very rocky earth beneath their feet. This confused Adam and God as the small flower that Issei spotted was erased from his presence. Issei. You know. It's funny, you would think that your divine reflection could copy the aura on my fist. The primordial grew a sinister grin as a purple aura started to cover his body, causing Adam to get into a defensive stance because he gets the feeling that things were about to get real. Issei. But you're wrong. Adam. What do you mean? Issei. The aura you see is the very essence of my true self. Below him. The essence of his true self. Adam. Huh. His what now? He grabs Adam by the head and bashes his head against the ground, repeatedly causing the earth to shake. However, before Issei could continue his onslaught, God came in and punched the monster in the face, which sent him flying back. But Issei caught himself and flew into the air. His eyes flashed purple as he fired a beam at God, who had to dodge the attack because he knew the risk of getting hit by such an attack. Below him. Gotta be careful. Adam stood up and rubbed his head in pain. Adam. This guy is no joke like you told me in the legends back then. God. But that doesn't mean we have to give up. You try and delay him while I save humans. Issei. Neither of you is going anywhere. Issei's eyes flashed purple, and from the ground came several skull crawlers, some bigger than the rest, but they all were ready to serve their master. Issei. Kill them. One of the skull crawlers roared as they all started to charge toward both God and Adam, the duo looking at each other before nodding their heads. They were gonna have to fight their way through. Sure, God could simply snap them out of existence, but they came from Destoroyah, so there was no telling if his powers would actually work on them or not. He has a feeling it wants so time to do things the old-fashioned way, with his fist. Little did they know, this was all a part of Issei's plan. He could have killed them ages ago. He was merely playing with his prey because he wanted them to think that they stood a chance when in reality that never did, to begin with. Adam and God charged at each other and began to fight and kill the skull crawlers one by one to get to Issei and the humans. Human 1. This is hopeless, those two won't defeat that monster. Human 2. There has to be something we can do. Human 3. Please God, someone. Helps us. All the humans cried, which began to annoy Issei as he glared at one of the humans that were crying, and their head exploded, silencing the humans. Issei. If you don't shut up, you'll be getting the same fate as that human. This scared the humans as Issei smirked. His gaze moved to the nearest baby and smirked. Issei. I'll be taking that. He then snapped the baby from its mother's grasp, much to her horror and worry. Issei then turned toward Adam, who was still fighting the skull crawlers. Issei. Hey Adam. The father of humanity's eyes moved to Issei and saw that he was holding a baby in one of his clawed hands while having a sinister grin that showed his very sharp teeth. Issei. I'm feeling a little hungry. Adam's eyes widen. Adam. Don't you dare. She has nothing to do with this. Issei grinned and opened his mouth as Adam ran towards them, hoping to save the baby. God noticed what was happening and tried to help his friend, but his powers don't work on Issei. He can't restrain the monster. He was pretty much useless. Issei dropped the baby as Adam let out a cry as he was feeling like he was losing hope until he was getting memories of his wife Eve and his two sons Cain and Abel. They all smiled at him, making Adam let out a roar as he was given a push of hope. But sadly it was already too late as Issei crushed the baby with his fangs. Blood gushed in between the teeth, staring at the ground as everyone was shocked by what they had just witnessed. Hell, even the skull crawlers themselves were surprised by their master's actions. But in reality, they shouldn't really, since this is what Issei was. He was a monster, an apex predator, a creature who had absolutely no remorse for anything nor anyone around him. Issei chuckled as he revealed his teeth, stained with the blood of the infant. Issei. Talk about tasty. Adam fell to his knees. He failed to save his child, and she was a baby no less. He failed his duties as a father. God also felt broken. He failed once again to protect his creations. His children. This made him feel the same as he did all those years ago when he had to cast out Lucifer. The father of creation watched as Issei chuckled and approached Adam, who was too broken to even move. The boy's jaws began to expand as it looked like he was about to devour Adam's head. God gritted his teeth. Below him. No. This can't be the end. God secretly opened a portal that led to the Bermuda Triangle and brought out a small purple aura which gave off a dreadful aura, luckily not enough for Issei to sense just yet. Below him. Trihixa. We may need you. Issei. Any last words? Adam remained silent, making Issei chuckle, and he brutally devoured Adam's head off, making the humans be put into despair and grief as they saw their own father die in front of them. God, now filled with anger, glared at the monster as he released a powerful aura that killed the skull crawlers in an instant. Below him. Destoroyah. Issei looked over at the father of creation and smirked. Issei. I haven't forgotten about you. Just testing my new eyes. God's eyes widened as he saw that Issei's eyes were now the ones that Adam uses, divine reflection. Below him. You took his power. Issei. Of course, why would I not? God growled as he looked at the headless corpse. Below him. Adam, I'm sorry I let this happen to you. But I promise your death and sacrifice won't be in vain. Issei. So, what are you gonna do, Yahweh? You gonna try and avenge your precious child? Issei grinned as he played with Adam's headless corpse, making God growl. I think you've had enough fun today. Issei. Huh. Issei turned to the source of the voice and saw several beings who he recognized: Shiva, Buddha, Thor, Odin, Ra, Zeus, and finally Morrigan, or rather, Sun Wukong. All the gods of Draconic Deus universe. Sun Wukong. Yo, so sorry we're late. Issei saw all the Hellhawks and Skullcrawlers dead and the humans were gone. Issei. So you took them? Buddha. Oh, yeah we did. You dig? Below him. Geez, you guys take forever. Shiva smirked. Shiva. You know, when I saw that you had returned, Destoroyah, I was a bit nervous. Zeus. But even you can't take us all on. Issei grinned and cackled. Issei. Oh, really? Do you think you can defeat me? No, one can defeat me. I am Destoroyah. The bringer of chaos. The bring of death. And I am the primordial darkness. The end of all creation. And he was hit in the stomach and sent flying into several buildings by a large pillar. Sun Wukong. A pain in my ass, sheesh. Buddha. Wow, talk about disrespectful. Thor. Let's get this over with. Zeus. I agree with Thor, let's end this monster. Below him. It's not gonna be easy, I'm afraid. Just then, they heard a chuckle from where Issei landed. This surprised them, not that he was still alive because they already knew that. They were surprised that they could hear his chuckle, especially if they considered how far Sun Wukong launched him. Issei. You know what, I think it's time. Not more waiting. Issei's whole body began to get surrounded by a dark blood-red aura. Issei. I see it all, I have experienced it all. All the lives, the deaths, the suffering. I have experienced it in my endless journey to grow in power. Shiva. Huh. What's he talking about? Odin. I feel like we're gonna find out. Issei. It has always dawned on me, Issei Haidu was never born as the Red Dragon Emperor. He was always a reactionary idea. Born in response to the light spear piercing his chest. Sun Wukong. Reactionary. Issei. I will no longer be a reaction, I must become the very trigger itself. Thor. This is getting boring. Odin. Quiet son, he's coming. Silence. Silence filled the air, the very thin air that the godly beings were having difficulty breathing. The silence was soon taken away as very loud laughter could be heard, echoing all around them. Issei. I shall be the light spear, this disgusting omniverse shall be the body, the worlds are the drops of blood that shall drip and drop, and finally. The 0 points reaction shall be the terror that Issei Haidu once felt. From the darkness, a clawed hand made of pure darkness appeared and grabbed a broken wall. Many eyes widened as they watched as something came out, something unimaginably horrifying. The true form of the primordial darkness. The form that he has achieved by absorbing all of the powers he has gathered over his countless lives. Issei. This is the end. Of the whole omniverse. Third person Pav. Ah, mortals. Your despair is so thick and rich with flavor that it lingers in the air. I can taste it and I gotta say, it's delicious. Open your eyes, Rias, all of you open your eyes. Before you are a being who is the true definition of a god, I continue to rise in power, and there is nothing you can do. Fear. Horror. Were these the two emotions that the godly beings were feeling as they stared at the primordial darkness's new appearance? It wasn't like anything they had ever seen before. It was like a thin, shadow-like specter almost, and that was saying something since they had all experienced something with a similar appearance in the past. However, this time was different. All of them have never seen anything like this. The color of the primordial darkness's new form was so black, so dark that it could easily block out any sort of light, no matter how bright it was. In that moment, in that split moment when he turned into this new form, each of the godly beings felt a wave of dread wash over their bodies. They felt it in every fiber of their beings, each of them could see that Issei, or rather the primordial darkness, had worked hard to make such a form. Those like Buddha, Shiva, Zeus, Odin, and Wukong have faced many vicious creatures in the past, some that could easily destroy the fabric of reality if they so wanted. However, the monster before them right now was a tier above those when it came to appearance. For power, they were not sure about it, since they couldn't sense anything coming off the primordial darkness. What they did pick up were his bloodlust and nothing but that, making them wonder if this new form of his was either so powerful that they couldn't pick up anything, or maybe he didn't have any power at all. Odin was wondering if there was more to the beast in front of them than meets the eye. No doubt there were hidden secrets that were laying in wait to be discovered. He has always been about knowledge and has the desire to learn about anything and everything that meets his gaze, but he does know that he has to be careful, or else losing another eye is the least of his worries. Shiva knew that this wasn't gonna be an easy battle, even with those such as Buddha, Amon-Ra, Sun Wukong, and even himself. The four were easily more powerful than any of the beings in the universe, but they can't be cocky before the battle even begins. For he knew about Destoroyah, one of the primordial darkness's few aliases, and when the god of destruction saw him for the first time, a mere gaze at the beast made him feel like he was being endlessly tortured in the most horrific and bloody ways possible. Zeus faced his father, Kronos, who had devoured his children because he feared they would rebel against him. The king of the gods managed to defeat him, but it didn't come easily. He lost a lot in the Great Titan War, hell, he wasn't even able to kill his dad at the end of the day, and had to chop him up into pieces. Although doing that to whatever was before him was not gonna be the same as his fight with his father, he'll have to give it his all if he wants to make a dent in it. Buddha honestly didn't care who or whatever the creature was, hell, he didn't even listen to what he said earlier when he took on this form he now sees. If he wanted to, he would ask him what his name was again, but doing that may just end up angering him. But why did that matter? Throughout heaven and earth, he alone was the honored one, the only one that can move him, on heaven or earth, is himself. He will defend humanity from this monster, even if it cost him everything. Even his own life. Sun Wukong's gaze moved to Buddha, he could feel his intentions, and the Monkey King has to say that while he doesn't like the fact that they were fighting side by side, he hasn't forgiven Buddha for tricking him all those years ago. Either way, the monkey demon knew that this was his chance to finally face someone after being bored for what felt like an eternity in Nirvana. Wukong was not gonna let this moment go to waste, but he wasn't gonna stand by and watch as this creature killed lies just for amusement. God gritted his teeth, and even with all of them going all out, they won't be able to take down the primordial darkness. The best they could do is hold him back for as long as they need to until the 0 point arrives to assist them. He's the only one who could take the monster down a peg. God. Let's hope we can hold him off long enough. Those with weapons held them tightly as those who did not wield any clenched their hands into fists. This was gonna be a fight for the ages, and one that shall shake the universe. Sun Wukong. Okay, let do th. Before Wukong could finish his sentence, Issei was already in front of him and threw a right hook into the Monkey King's face, which sent him flying through several buildings in a matter of seconds. God and the other godly beings' eyes widened, but before they could react to what had just occurred, it was soon their turn to suffer the same fate. Issei grabbed Shiva's face and slammed him into the ground before using him to put himself in the air and roundhouse kick Ra in the face. Rah. Erg. The sun god grabbed his head in pain, but he soon felt more pain when Issei gut-checked the deity. This attack sent the sun god flying back as he went flying into Thor, who tried to catch his comrade, but the force knocked both of them away instantly. Odin and Zeus attempted to attack Issei, but the latter simply grew 2 more arms on his back and grabbed their fist. Zeus. Oh, no. Odin. That's not good. Issei simply chuckled as he looked at the two, a sinister grin on his face as he tossed them to the side like they were nothing but used up toys. Issei. We just started, and from the looks of things, I shall be the winner. Elohim. I wouldn't get too cocky, Destoroyah. Issei looked over at Elohim, who had a small grin. Issei. What are you smirking about? Elohim. Oh, just the staff you're about to be struck with. Issei. What staff? Before he could finish his sentence, Sun Wukong returned in an instant and wanted to repay the kind gesture. Sun Wukong. Expand Issei. The ground shakes and rumbles as Sun Wukong's weapon expanded into a gigantic version of itself, plus because he was in front of Issei when this happened, the attack sent the monster flying into the air. The attack not only launched him into the air, but he was also launched into the air so fast that he was sent out of the planet's orbit and went flying through the vast cosmic space for a little bit. If this had been anyone else, that move would have killed them in an instant from feeling their ribcage being shattered. Plus, since Issei was sent out of orbit, any regular human would have instantly frozen or run out of oxygen if the freezing didn't kill them first. Sun Wukong. He's going, and he's gone. There you have it, folks, Sun Wukong's famous Issei home run. Buddha couldn't help but chuckle slightly at the Monkey King's attitude. He always seems to be in the best mood even in such dire situations. Elohim. Good job, old friend. That bought us a few seconds at most. Shiva groaned as he pulled himself out of the ground, shaking the pieces of rumble off his face. Shiva. That was embarrassing. Brah. Agreed. Thor. Are you alright, sun god? Brah. Yeah, I'm fine. The head is just spinning. Wukong smirked as he made his staff shrink down back to regular size before spinning it around for a few seconds. Sun Wukong. You guys stay here, I'll go face him first. Elohim. What? You can be serious. He'll kill you. Sun Wukong. I would like to see him try. With that, Sun Wukong whistled for his cloud and hopped on. He threw straight into the sky with immense speed, causing a sonic boom to appear from going so fast. Sure, he could just jump up there like the time he jumped to the end of the universe, but this way was more stylish. This was something he can't sit by and let go to waste. He's gonna face the primordial darkness no matter what. Speaking of Issei, the monster flew through space until he came crashing down upon the moon, causing significant damage to the massive rock and moving it slightly out of its regular orbit. Issei still had a grin on his face as he laid up on the surface of the moon. He had to admit that they caught him off guard. He gotta make a mental note to not fall for something like that again. It won't be the death of him, but it will be very annoying. He slowly stood up and dusted himself off. In the corner of his eyes he could see Sun Wukong coming toward him in his cloud. Issei chuckled. Issei. So the monkey wants to play, well then. Issei. This is gonna be fun. As Sun Wukong arrived at the moon, he leaped off his cloud and landed on the surface of the space rock. A savage grin had formed on the Monkey King's face as he was ready to rumble against the primordial darkness. Issei. So you decide to come and face me? Sun Wukong. You bet, I'm not gonna let this go to waste. Issei chuckled. Issei. You do realize that you'll die. The demon smirked at the monster's words. He then twirled his staff and put himself in a battle stance, his eyes widening with a hint of battle lust. Sun Wukong. Well then, show me what you got. Issei simply laughed as he charged towards Sun Wukong with immense speed and punched the demon in the chest, sending him flying back a couple of feet. Wukong managed to recover himself as he charged toward the primordial darkness and punched him directly in the face as well, hard enough to create a small shock wave around them. However, most to his surprise Issei didn't even budge at all from the attack. Issei. Is that all you got? He even cracked a grin as he swept aside the Monkey King's fist before landing a punch in Wukong's face, such that it distorted his face and sent him flying. Poor Wukong was punched so hard that he skipped over the moon's surface a few times before smashing into a raised part of the ground and falling to his knees. Wukong? Ow. He had to admit that Issei certainly had a powerful right hook, he won't lie about that. However, he has faced similar things before and he's always come out on top. Wukong slowly got up and wiped his mouth. He then kicked up his staff and grabbed it, twirling it around for a few seconds. Wukong. I gotta say, I think you're gonna be the first to make me go all out. Issei. Well then, let's see about that. And so, the two changed once again at each other as they clashed. Wukong used his staff, while Issei merely used his claws. Each swung and blocked against the other attack, causing sparks to erupt from the contact. A trail of red and black followed the two as they moved across the surface of the moon, Wukong growing a serious yet still battle-hungry expression, while Issei merely had his grin. Sun Wukong. Your claws are certainly sharp. Issei. Thanks, monkey boy. The Monkey King jumped back only to shoot forward, orange-yellow energy surging around him as he tried to knock Issei down. However, the latter dodged before striking him with a vicious uppercut. The dark entity fought with unmistakable brutality as he punched at his foe, knocking the demon down. The primordial darkness snarled as he cocked his fist back and hit him with a powerful uppercut, followed by another uppercut and a third one for good measure. This caused Sun Wukong to be flung into the air with a groan of pain, but recovered quickly, leaping back away from the dark creature before charging forwards with such speed, the ground crumbled under each step. He brought down a devastating attack upon Issei's ribs, sending him flying once again. Once again, Issei easily began dodging and blocking as Wukong launched into a combo of energy charge strikes that shattered the ground. Issei decided to do the same thing, but in a completely different way than his opponent. He punched the ground as multiple dark spikes erupted from the ground, heading toward the Monkey King. Sun Wukong narrowed his eyes as he began to easily destroy the attacks by spinning his weapon in front of him, acting like a shield almost. Issei took this moment to launch himself forward, and Wukong did the same thing as he blocked all of Issei's blows with his staff. Although, he could feel the shockwaves through his staff and they were no joke, one critical strike and it was all over for him. The demon soon walked one of Issei's clawed hands away from him before throwing a hard punch at Issei, but he caught the punch with his other hand and brought down his other fist upon the Monkey King. Sun Wukong. Erg. Issei. Did you think I wouldn't see that coming? Don't make me laugh. With a roar, the primordial darkness drove one of his free fists into Wukong's chin in a brutal uppercut, sending him skidding back. Suddenly, Issei unleashed a massive burst of red energy before charging at his enemy. He went to throw another punch, but Wukong countered with his punch. Issei tried again, only to be countered again. He kept on trying again and again and again. The two continued to exchange blow after blow with each other, every blow causing a shockwave to form in the aftermath. Issei felt annoyed by all this, but he soon just laughed as he realized that if he can't land a hit on Sun Wukong, then he can't land on him either. The monkey demon knew this, and this wasn't exactly going how he wanted it to go. He wanted to at least do some damage. With a roar, Sun Wukong threw another punch which Issei stopped in the same way, another shockwave shaking the ground. The creature simply smirked and gave a small chuckle, while Sun Wukong gave another battle cry and pressed his attack. Issei. What's the matter? You don't look happy for this battle anymore. Sun Wukong. That was before I realized I haven't left any mark on you. Issei merely laughed as the two continued to clash all along the surface of the moon, causing shockwaves, cracks, and craters to form from their battle. Every punch met fist to fist midway between the two combatants, almost leaving them matched, blow for blow. At one point, Issei tried to bring down his claws on the demon in an attempt to pierce him, but Wukong dodged and came with his staff, which Issei blocked easily. Wukong? Damn it. I'm not doing any da. Before Wukong could finish what he was thinking, Issei interrupted his thoughts by grabbing him by the throat and throwing him with immense force around the moon before he punched him in the gut, sending him straight into the surface of the rock. Sun Wukong cried in pain as he coughed up some blood, which shocked him because ever since he achieved nirvana and became omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, he hasn't felt real damage or seen his blood. Looks like God wasn't kidding when he said that there was a chance that he could die in this battle. He had found a way to become immortal multiple times if he adds. A small smirk grew on the Monkey King's face as he slowly brought himself to his feet. Issei stared down at his enemy with a grin on his face. He had a feeling that his opponent wouldn't just lay down and die. He knew how this was all gonna end, so he didn't have to worry about much. Issei. Still alive, I see. He watched as Wukong chuckled and spat out some blood. Sun Wukong. It's gonna take a lot more than that to put me down. Issei. Oh, I can do a lot more. Sun Wukong. Well, I better get serious then. He summoned his staff, which flew past Issei's head and landed in its wielder's hand. He spun it around before slamming it into the ground, causing a blinding white light to appear on the surface of the moon. The primordial darkness watched as the light dimmed down to reveal Sun Wukong, but this time he looked more animal-like rather than human. Sun Wukong's eyes glowed as he stared at Issei with a serious expression. Sun Wukong. Let's dance. Meanwhile, back down on Earth, in the destroyed town of Kuo, silence had taken over the place as the sun was slowly setting over the horizon, and somewhere in the ruined town stood the only remaining structure, which was a long pole. Sitting on top of that pole was a figure. The figure was a young woman with wavy white hair and red rudy-like eyes, and they also had cat-like ears and a tail. Their clothes consumed of a blue overcoat with 6 yellow buttons and cufflinks, shorts and orange socks with thin black stripes, and a pair of blue shoes. Wow, much has changed. The person slowly looked up in the direction of the moon, the place where Sun Wukong was facing off against Issei, or rather the primordial darkness. A small smile grew on their face. I hope Issei is still inside that monster, because… The person then pointed at themselves as they made a cute, almost chibi-like expression. Kaneko. Kaneko wants her chocolate. Third person Pav. Kaneko wasn't really sure how to explain what she has experienced. No mere words could probably answer her questions. You see, she was currently falling through what appeared to be an endless dark tunnel, which almost appeared to be infinite, something that should be out of the Backrooms franchise. How did she end up like this? How did everything go wrong? Well, technically nothing really went wrong. To some extent, to say the least. Kaneko. Where am I? She asked herself as she looks around. The white-haired devil girl continued to fall endlessly, feeling time pass by her in an instant. Seconds. Minutes. Hours. She wasn't sure how far she has been falling for and gets the feeling that she'll never know cause no one was around to answer her calls. The last thing that happened to her was being with Issei Haidu, the boy who saved her from being raped by a fat bastard, the boy who literally walked into hell, only to bring her back out with him. She always felt safe around him, but there were times when it felt like he was different. Actually, scratch that, because after he revealed himself at the marriage between Riaz and Riser, he was a completely different being. He was stronger, smarter, aggressive, and more hateful to things around him, especially Riaz, which made no sense to Kaneko. She knew Issei wouldn't hate Riaz, and that was because he loved her breast. The boy was a pervert, he craved the crimson red-haired devil girl's breast, and he wanted to be the harem king. However, after what had happened, she wasn't too sure about that anymore. Plus, Riaz had also changed too. Kaneko wasn't a genius, but she was pretty sure that Riaz had no affiliation with the color gold or electricity. Plus, something was telling her that Issei stopped loving her for some reason, but she can't be too sure what it was until she found out Destoroyah PD took control over him and must be holding Issei as a prisoner. How did she know about all this? That was a very good question. For the longest time she has never heard of Destoroyah or the primordial darkness before. But for some reason, she just knows somehow, and she couldn't really explain why. How did she know? How? Kaneko. How do I know? As Kaneko continued to fall, she was soon greeted by a blinding white light which caused her to instantly cover her eyes in hopes that she would go blind from whatever made the light. However, the light was the least of her problems right now, cause she soon felt an impact on her back, not enough to break her spinal cord, but only enough to make her sore. Very sore. Hineko. Ow. Hineko laid on the ground, or rather what she believes is solid ground, her eyes still closed due to the blinding white light. But slowly she noticed that the light began to dim down, making it more bearable for her to open her eyes. Although, there was a small voice in the back of her mind telling her not to do it because she wasn't what she would be greeted with. But Hineko knew that she would know unless she opened them, so going against the voice in her head she opened them, and what she saw left her absolutely speechless. Hineko. By Lucifer. She said in pure shock, and her breath was taken by the view as she slowly started to make her way towards the tree. The tree was absolutely gigantic, and she wasn't making that up, it was bigger than anything she had ever seen before. She doubts that she would be the size of a single leaf, even if she ended up turning into a full adult. As Hineko approached the root of the tree, she noticed several things which gained her attention. The first was that she felt like that she was being watched by some sort of mysterious force, which confused her since she was the only one around. The second was that the leaves of the trees looked strange, like if she narrowed her eyes and looked closely. They looked like universes. No, that can't be right. They were something else, but what is more than a universe? Multiverses. Omniverses. Yeah, that feels right. Each of those leaves was an omniverse, which shouldn't be possible, since that entire theory is nothing but crazy talk. Anyways, the third and most important thing was that the roots of the tree looked like they had been attacked by something. Hineko touched one of them, only to quickly draw her hand away because it felt like her hand was being slowly erased on a subatomic level. Hineko. What the hell? She was confused about what just happened, but she had a feeling that this tree would be too dangerous. Careful, I wouldn't touch that if I were you. Hineko turned her head towards the source of the voice. When she did though, her eyes widened from what she saw before her. Though it wasn't the same size as the gigantic tree behind her, the thing before her was still very impressive when it came to size. What was the thing Hineko was looking at? Oh, nothing too special, only a giant fucking serpent. Hineko. What are you? Nahash. I'm known as Nahash, the serpent that guards over the tree of knowledge, or as you beings would call it, creation. Hineko. Creation. Wait. Is this tree? Nahash. The source of all creation. You could say that, but now who are you and how did you get here, Nekomata? Hineko. Wait, how do you know what I am? Nahash. I'm the guardian of this tree, I have observed many omniverses being born, and I am the deity behind the creation of a place called the Wanderer's Library. Hineko. Wanderer's Library. Nahash. It is a hub of all knowledge throughout every universe and dimension. Its endless halls carry every book that has or ever will be written. Hineko. So this library has all info about everything in existence. Nahash. Correct, and it's an endless halls filled with knowledge that those who seek knowledge have been searching for it. Hineko was surprised by what she was hearing. She was 100% sure that some of her friends like Kiba and Akeno would be interested in that library since they tend to read books a lot. However, turning her attention to the tree right next to her, she can't help but wonder what happened to it. Sure, she wants to know if there was a way back home and whatnot. But she was just curious. Hineko. Can I ask you something? Nahash. Of course, what is your question? Hineko pointed at the tree, making sure not to touch it. Hineko. What happened here? Nahash fell silent for a moment as the serpent looked like it was thinking of the right words to say. Nahash soon sighed. Nahash. There was a war, one that nearly cost all of creation. Hineko. War. Between who and why? Nahash. A war against a being who is far above your quote-unquote Issei in terms of power. Hineko. Strong than zero-pointer as well. Nahash. They are not even close to a percentage of his body, even while he's sealed. Hineko felt dread wash over her as she heard the serpent's words. How could someone like that exist? Hineko. Holy shit. Nahash. I'm sure you're also wondering how you know about the primordial darkness and the 0 point. Hineko nodded. Nahash. You see, I knew you were coming, so I gave you the knowledge that you lacked. Hineko. Heh, knowledge. Nahash. Indeed, and now I'm sure you wonder what being would want to destroy creation. Well, he isn't a deity like me or anything else. Hineko. Who is this being? Nahash sighed. Nahash. He's known by many names and titles, and as for what he is, he's not a deity or any other species that you could think of. He is much more, he's an idea. Hineko. Oh. Hineko doesn't know why, but she has a feeling that this being can be dangerous. Nahash. One of his names is the Scarlet King, and he desires the end of all of creation, which he could accomplish on his own without his army. Hineko. The Scarlet King. Nahash. Wait, you know of him? Hineko. Yeah, but only in the legends. Nahash paused for a second, that was strange. no Omniverse has ever heard the tales of the Scarlet King and his actions, even though his children had been scattered across several Omniverses. Nahash. Strange. But that doesn't matter right now, you need to return back to your world. Hineko. You can send me back. Nahash. Indeed I can. Suddenly, a portal appeared next to Kaneko as she looked at it. If what the serpent said was true, going through this portal will take her home. But there was no way that she could face Issei, he'll tear her apart in seconds. If she was gonna go back there, she will need to increase her power so she could at least handle him if he tried to attack her. Kaneko. Actually, I changed my mind. Nahash. Why? Don't you want to go back home? Kaneko. I do, but I can't go back. I would be torn apart by Issei in an instant. Nahash. And. Kaneko. And. I need to figure out a way to save him from the Destoroyah. Nahash. Poor girl. Little does she know that it's too late for that, he's gone. Nahash sighed. Nahash. Very well, Kaneko. I shall allow you to remain with me at the Tree of Knowledge, I shall also allow you access to the Wanderer's Library. Kaneko. Really? Nahash. Well, I can't let you be bored while you're here. Kaneko, thank you sir. Nahash chuckles. Nahash. No problem, my Nekomata friend. Kaneko. Hang on, Issei. I'll save you soon. And so, Kaneko's quest to become stronger and save Issei began. She wasn't gonna give up until she achieved her goal, even if that did mean the cost of her own life. Things didn't really start off too great because Kaneko had no idea what to do. Nahash wasn't really much help either because all that serpent did on a day-to-day basis was just sleep for what felt like forever. Speaking of forever, Kaneko theorizes that time must move way differently around the Tree of Knowledge because when she was sucked into the portal, she had her phone on her and during the whole time she was at the tree. The charge never went down once. She also had felt the need to eat, drink, or really sleep, but still does it, so she doesn't end up losing her sanity being completely alone. Well, that wasn't really true since she had Nahash, who was still being an endless reptile. Anyways, Kaneko has trained as much as she could involving her physical abilities and devil powers, and used her access to the Tree of Knowledge to master several martial arts, which would take someone many years to achieve. She has also used the library to gain access to books from other universes, those that still had Nekomatas in them, and has gained a better understanding of the power that she had refused to her for ages. Senjutsu and Jujutsu. If Kaneko kept up with all of this training, she'll be on the same level as some gods like Shiva or Amon-Ra. Kaneko eventually began to combine the martial arts she learned from the books and created her own techniques while combining them with her power. At some point, time had flown by her so quickly that she forgot how long she had been around the Tree of Knowledge. She could have been there for years or maybe even a few seconds, she had no idea, and as she stated before, Nahash was no help because he was sleeping. However, she has noticed that she has gone through a bit some physical changes, such as her appearance. She looked like some sort of an anime character, but more on the line of an antagonist rather than the protagonist. Kaneko looks at herself and does a few punches, and the last punch destroys a mountain. Kaneko blinked in surprise at her newfound strength. She hoped that Nahash didn't notice that because that last punch may or may not have harmed the Tree of Knowledge. She wasn't sure, but she hopes it didn't because she didn't want to deal with a very angry serpent on her hands. Kaneko. Okay, I think I'm ready to go back. With that, the white-haired Nekomata turned and walked toward the slumbering guardian. Kaneko, hey Nahash. Wake up. Nahash slowly opened his eyes as he raised his head and looked at Kaneko. He could sense her power, and he had to say she could be one of the strongest beings in her omniverse. Sure, she was powerful, but that didn't mean that someone like Nahash would feel afraid of the Nekomata's power. He was still the guardian of the Tree of Knowledge, the protector of creation. Nahash, hey Kaneko. Why did you wake me? Kaneko. Well, for starters, you've been sleeping for who knows how long. Nahash. A few millennia is not even a nap for me, I need at least a couple of eons for it to be at least a slumber. Kaneko. Anyways, I'm ready to go back. Nahash. Oh, so you believe that you are finally ready to go back to your world? Kaneko nodded her head. Nahash. Well, before I open the portal, let me ask you something. This gained Kaneko's attention as she wondered what he wanted to ask her, must be important. Kaneko. Sure, what's up? Nahash. What would happen if you are not able to free Issei? What would happen if those you once knew and loved tried to take him from you? What would you do? Kaneko fell silent. This was something that she herself had been pondering for the most part during her time training. There was always a part of her that believed that it was pointless in trying to help Issei, that he was already gone, and the primordial darkness was all that was left. She also wondered if those she once knew like Rias, Kiba, Akeno, Sona, and who knows what else would try and stop her from attempting to save him. Maybe the voice in the back of her mind was right, maybe all that she has done was for no. No. She couldn't give up on him. He had to be in there. He had to be. Issei never wanted this, he never wanted to harm anyone. He was trapped. Scared. Frightened. She will save him. Kaneko. I don't care what others say, I know that Issei is still in there. If anyone tries to get in my way. Kaneko. I'll kill them. Nahash saw the look in Kaneko's eyes, the white-haired Nekomata was very serious about all of this. But sooner or later she will learn that it was all pointless, Issei was gone for good. But who was he to shatter her only hope? This wasn't his battle. He has bigger things to worry about. Far worse ones. Nahash sighed. Nahash. Alright, then Kaneko. If that is what you choose to believe. Nahash opened the portal back to Earth. Kaneko looked at the portal before looking back at Nahash. Kaneko. Thanks for everything, Nahash. I couldn't have done this without you. Nahash simply smiled. Nahash. I'm just doing my job, protecting the tree of knowledge and those who reside within the leaves stuck on the branches. Kaneko smiled. Kaneko. I hope we can meet again. Nahash. Oh, I wish we could, Kaneko, but unfortunately that won't be happening. With that, Kaneko walked through the portal and ventured back to her world in hopes to put an end to all of this and save Issei from the primordial darkness's clutches. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching and supporting us. Part 5 is over. See you in the next part.